Guy who had a milestone victory last night for the Bridgeton Bulldogs. Head coach Dave Ellen picking up his 100th win. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Got to be a great morning. You must have woken up to this morning with a great feeling. Picking up that 100th win is always huge in a sport like football, where you only play 10, 11 games a year. So that obviously means you've had some success over the past decade or so. What are your feelings this morning after winning that game last night against Millville?
That's great. Very, very good feeling. The coach, as long as I've been coaching, the wins and losses are going to come. It is a great milestone for, it's definitely not a me thing. It's a we thing, in Bridgeton. Really been blessed to have, a lot of great coaches along the way that I was, able to distribute a lot of leadership to them. The community is great. Administration in Bridgeton is great, and back in not only football, but all athletics. It's still a really good sports town, in Bridgeton.
Before we get into this year's team a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about your coaching staff. I know I was talking to Egg Harbor Township coach Kevin Stetzer earlier in this week, and we were just chatting football and talking about some of his coaching staff, and they're all kind of in the same situation. They're guys in their late 30s, early 40s. They got young families, and I think that gets lost a little bit sometimes of how much time you guys spend together as a coaching staff, and how important it is to have good relationships with those guys, and how much you rely on each other week in and week out to just kind of keep your sanity when you're coaching teenagers and really put together the right kind of program to lead these young boys and kind of turn them into men. So talk about that a little bit, some of the guys on your staff who have really helped this program become one of the best in South Jersey.
Yeah, I've really been blessed and fortunate to have, a lot of my coaches are former players. And like Egg Harbor, I have a lot of younger guys that, are in that stage in their life where they have young kids and, right around the 8, 9 and years, and have a couple that are 12, 13, 14-year-old kids that they're get done practice and they're shuffling their kids to practices, and then the weekends are spent shuffling their kids to practice, going to watch their game, and then in between they have to watch film, break down film, talk with me, talk with their players. And during the week, it's a 12, 13-hour day during the week. It's a lot to ask, and they do it for the love of the game. Do it for the type of season that we are having right now. It's very rewarding seeing some young kids and how they progress from September to where they are now. This coaching staff, along with some guys that have retired, like Danny Busnardo, I coached with for 28 years. Joe Tecklitz was my O-line coach that just retired last year. We were together for 28 years. And then I have guys that have to step into those roles, and they've been doing a fantastic job. Again, fortunate to be able to delegate a lot of the responsibilities to them. And, I'm not a guy that gets in everybody's business. Whatever I give you, it's your job, and they're free to do what they need to do to get the job done.
Talking with head coach Dave Ellen from the Bridgeton Bulldogs, picked up career win number 100 last night in an 18-0 victory over Millville. Coach, biggest difference between win number 1 and win number 100?
Less hair.
Do you remember win number 1?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, vividly, man. I was Danny Busnard he's retired, was on the sideline last night, and I can remember it was against Pleasantville. It was a home game. Ironically, we lost to Millville the week before. And after the game, I remember him telling me, that's going to be one of many, and it's still real fresh in my mind.
Did you believe him back then that it was going to be one of many?
Yeah. He told me last night, he goes, I didn't tell you when it was going to be, but I told you it was going to be one of many. But, it's tough. It's in football, and all sports. It's tough to look that far ahead. You don't want to look that far ahead. It's definitely a sport where it's a workman's like mentality. It's cliche, but it's one game at a time.
How about a coach like Clyde Folsom up at West Deptford? He just picked up his 200th win last night. What's it take to get to that level, and even just to 100? I mean, it's got to be. Looking back on it today, I'm sure you've had some thoughts over the last 10, 20 years, and all the work that you guys have put in to get to just 100. I mean, can you imagine getting to 200, 250 like some of these guys?
It's crazy. I look at guys like Ed, Paul Sacco, who's been in it for forever. I just think what is familiar with all those programs is consistency. With consistency with the coaching staff, and it enables kids when they come into a program to be able to flourish a little better because their expectations are kind of right out in front of them. And they're not changing each and every year if there's a new coach coming in.
Now, are you a kinder, gentler Dave Ellen now that you've got 100 wins under your belt?
Probably. If you ask my players, probably not. No.
What about last night's game? I mean, obviously you guys have started out 0-3. You've won the last 4. What's been the biggest difference in turning this thing around this season?
I think at the start of the season, everything ran through Marquise Bill, probably on both sides of the ball and special teams, and other teams kind of knew that also, they would double him a lot on offense, and we didn't really have an answer yet with a lot of our kids. We lost Nazir Williams last year, who was a great wide receiver. Flores Capadonna Miller and Stephon Bowman. Some really good skill kids that you kind of only see once in your career, a collection like that. And we asked a lot of the kids that stepped in, and we thought, at the beginning of the year that we had some good kids. And, as a coach, you foolishly think that they're going to blossom right away. Knowing in the back of your head that, it's probably not going to happen for 3 or 4 games. And that's kind of where we're at. Right now they're starting to really produce, and teams aren't really able to focus just on Marquise at all. And we were able to, distribute the ball a little bit. And on defense, we don't carry that many kids, so they're playing both ways, and they were able to produce on the defensive side of the ball also.
Talking with Dave Ellen, Bridgeton High School football coach, just picked up win number 100 last night. Coach, how difficult is it in a sport like football where you only play once a week to have the patience enough to let these kids develop? You start out 0-3, you're probably hearing some clamor from the fan base and, all that kind of stuff through school. And how tough is it to just kind of stick with the plan and not get too crazy with adjustments and say, hey, this is going to be a good team if we just keep working hard at what we're doing?
Yeah, it's very, very tough. But, again, it goes back to your coaching staff. And it goes back to your kids if they have the right attitude to really keep working on technique and reading their keys, and that's kind of what it comes down to, basic football. And then being able to get through the monotony of practice and be able to wrap everything out. And if they do that, you see a progression, and our kids really were able to do that.
Kind of an exciting time down there in Cumberland County. I know a lot of the Atlantic County football fans don't get a chance to see too much of the teams from down there. But, you're talking about Millville has had some real good years the past couple of years.
Sure.
Vineland's kind of jumping up into the mix now. You guys have been perennially good. What's going on down there in Cumberland County in high school football?
Yeah, it's starting to blossom down. It's nice. It's great for the community. It's everybody's so close. I'm sure there was a lot of talk, throughout the week. We try to discourage that, but it's technology today. I don't think it's going to happen. But I just like, for me, going through the halls this week, just hearing random kids talk about the game. Who's going to the game? You going to the game? And to me, that was that's Americana for me.
Good stuff. We'll let you get going. I know you're off to a college football game today, Coach.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, and congratulations again on win number 100. Appreciate you joining us.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Have a good one.
No problem. Have a good weekend.
All right.
That was Coach Dave Ellen from the Bridgeton Bulldogs.